Hey Bob, did you see the sidewalks?
Okay, we're rolling.
Are they taping?
Yes, we're
There,
ready.
now we're on. Okay, there we are. Glad to hear that. Okay, call to order of a Newman City Council regular meeting and Newman Redevelopment Agency special meeting, July 24, 2001. Can we have the stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation? Tim, would you like to do the invocation?
Sure, I'll do that this evening, Mayor.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we bow our heads in prayer. God, we ask that you give us the strength and the reasoning to be guided by the Spirit in our decision making on this evening. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Parker.
You're welcome.
Can we have a roll call?
Councilmember Parker?
Present.
Applegate?
Present.
Present.
Mancia?
Present.
Mayor Reed?
Present. Are there any communications from staff? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Just have another block party that's going to be coming up for street closure. It's going to be on.
Is that mic on?
It's
On the bottom. On the bottom, take it up. There's one more switch. I think
Pull
so.
the thing out and you can see it. There.
There you go.
Just have to report about one street closure that we have coming up this Saturday, July 28th. It's between 5 to 10 p.m. and it's on the Lockbreak Court. And we'll be going in and honoring this, and we're going to also trying to do a neighborhood watch presentation there also. So we'll see how that goes. We'd like to get that operational in that area. Any kind of questions on that? I'll take it. That's the only communication I have.
No?
That must be the latest thing, huh? Black parties?
It's summer.
Might have to have one.
When, John?
I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'm busy this week.
Any other communications from staff? None, okay. Items from the public, non-agenda items. While the City Council welcomes and encourages participation in the meetings, it would be appreciated if you limit your comments to 3 minutes so that everyone may be heard. Matters under the jurisdiction of the Council and not on a posted agenda may be addressed by the general public at this time. However, California law prohibits the Council from taking action on any matter which is not on a posted agenda unless it's determined to be an emergency by the City Council. Any non-agenda items? Items from the public, agenda items. Any member of the audience desiring to address the council on a matter on the agenda, please raise your hand or step to the podium at the time the item is announced by the mayor. In order that all interested parties have an opportunity to speak, any person addressing the council will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes unless the mayor grants a longer period of time. Item number 7, public hearings. Item number 7A, review and approve the annual grantee performance report CDBG 00 STBG-1517 and CDBG 00-EDBG-752. Review and approve the annual income report and the annual grantee performance report of the revolving loan funds. Review 2001 CDBG funding opportunities.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to call for a point of order just before we proceed with this particular item. This memo that we just received is a request to have an item added to the agenda. Is that correct, staff?
That's correct. We probably should have done that now. Huh?
Yeah, we should do that before we
Agenda.
proceed with agenda item number 7 if we are going to add it. It requires a 4 to 5 vote.
Where would this be in the
We're
agenda?
putting it at 9B,
Okay,
which is not being used.
9B, which is a vacant,
Right.
Yeah,
If you want, yeah, you can just do it now.
you can do it now or at that time. It doesn't, either way, I guess. But yeah, if you'd like to do that now, you're welcome to.
okay, well, I'll move that we add this item to agenda item 9B.
Second?
Second it. Probably should read the item into the motion just for the record.
I'll go ahead and read it. It's to adopt resolution number 01, next number, accepting dedication of land from Dumas Ventures and authorize M. Cleve Morris as city clerk to record same on behalf of the city of Newman. It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Now, what I said before, Margaret?
You're not going to repeat that?
No.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. This particular item before you are 5 separate issues, all involving our housing and our HCD programs that the City of Newman has participated. The first 2 are a public hearing to evaluate our annual report for Housing Rehabilitation Grant 1517 and Economic Development Grant 752. Both of these are relatively new grants that were awarded at the beginning of the year, and to date there's been very minor expenditures through June 30th, year 2000. The third item is the review and the approval of the annual income report. The annual program income, as folks start repaying their rehabilitation loans back to the city, it goes into a separate revolving loan fund to be reused for the similar use that they got the original loan for. It also, we have 2 separate loans now. One is for housing rehabilitation, and the new loan, revolving loan fund that's just been established has been for economic development in anticipation of loans going out from our economic development grant. And the 5th item is just a quick review of the various funding opportunities that are available this coming year, which are similar to those that we've always had before us, just so that the public as a public hearing knows what's available, and that in the future the council may choose to utilize some of this other funding. Going back to the first grantee performance report for the 2 open loans that we have, we've just completed our 4th CDBG housing and rehabilitation loan for $500,000. We've rehabilitated 16 homes with that grant, bringing the total to 96 homes within the City of Newman that have been rehabilitated with the money from the state of California and the City of Newman's housing set aside. The new grant 1517 is exactly the same. It's a $500,000 grant for primarily housing rehabilitation. We usually focus on owner occupants. We are expanding it to include owner investors in particular situations, but this will not occur often. The second new grant is an economic development grant that the city applied for last year, was awarded in May of this year. It is a $300,000 grant for the purpose of loaning out money for small business assistance and also performing off-site infrastructure improvements. Again, both of these are new grants, and expenditures have been nil up to 6/30/2001. Our fund where we put the repayments in, the program income fund, has a balance currently of $60,000. We use that funding to assist in rehab loans for individuals whose equity may be too low and can't get enough funding to actually do what's necessary on their remodeling portion. This money will allow them to go over the edge that normally they wouldn't be allowed through the normal granting process. The funding opportunities are as last year. The city has the opportunity of applying for a total of $800,000 for block grants, $500,000 in one application, and that's what we did last year. We can also apply for planning and technical assistance grants. This is up to $30,000 per application, $75,000 per year. The purpose of this funding is to assist the city in determining the feasibility of a larger project. If, in fact, housing is necessary, we've used this particular program in the past to assist us in determining the need of the small business loan program, the need of the senior housing project, the need of basic housing rehabilitation programs. So that's basically it. These should be open to the public. This is their opportunity to give the input to the council on their feelings of how the city is utilizing their CDBG monies.
Anyone have any questions for Margaret? I'd like to see us be a little bit more aggressive on this and contact the homeowners. We see a house that needs rehabilitating, we should, I think, go out and see them. And another thing is, could we, on some of these houses that are really bad and they don't seem to be want to do anything, could we possibly use RDA money to purchase these and then the CDBG money to rehabilitate them and then sell them as low-income or affordable housing?
I don't think that would be possible. We've expended, most of our redevelopment money for housing, the housing set aside, is utilized to make the match. For every $500,000 we are granted, we have to put up $50,000 of our own.
Yeah.
For our senior housing project, we nearly put up $700,000 of our own redevelopment money to purchase a property and to loan the developer money to make that project happen. Right now, the funds in our housing set aside barely meets our match of these ongoing projects. If the city buys a property, can we use CDBG money to remodel the home? I'm not sure. Typically, it's supposed to be for the owner investor, the owner occupant. We are expanding it to assist owner investors if they rent it to the folks who qualify. The target income group, you have to have rent limits, and you can only have occupants, renters in there that meet the lower income standards, which would apply as if you were getting the rehab loan. It's pretty stringent. It's really aimed at a certain targeted income group. Its purpose is to assist these folks who otherwise couldn't get.
Yeah, well, that was my thought, was to get the substandard homes out of there,
Yeah.
off the market, and rehabilitate them and then sell them to people who really can't afford.
There may be other opportunities available,
Okay.
not
Maybe
within
somebody
our
we could
housing
look at.
rehabilitation program.
Okay. We'll open this public hearing on item 7A. Anyone? No one out there? Okay, close the public hearing. Come up to item 7B, which is adopt resolution adopting revised.
We need to make a motion
Yeah.
on
Yeah, we need
7A.
to
Oh, okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
approve
I'm
that.
sorry. We have a motion to adopt item 7A.
I make a motion, we adopt 7A.
Second.
I second that motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Now, item 7B, adopt resolution adopting revised housing rehabilitation participation guidelines to include reconstruction financing for owner investors. Margaret?
Typically, this program is geared to the owner occupant. It is the spirit and the purpose of the program to assist those low-income people who bought their home to do the things that they normally can't. But it is recognized by HCD and by the city that it is a benefit to the citizens of the community, particularly the lower income ones, if the rental unit that they're living in is also maintained and rehabilitated. HCD had strong provisions not allowing that to occur. Recently, those have changed. So at the city is amending their guidelines to comply with the HCD guidelines, which will allow owner investors to participate in the program. And what this does, it just allows the landlord, even though he may not be low income, to fix a dwelling that will be available only to that targeted income group and get the rates and the benefits of the program as would an owner occupant. This particular change in the guideline also allows the owner investor to reconstruct the home. Very few of our projects deal in reconstruction. We usually deal with rehabilitation. Occasionally we have 1 or 2 houses in the entire 96 that we've done that have been so bad that they needed to be reconstructed. We have one now that's in the works that is an owner investor home. And it is necessary either to turn it, for him to just demolish it, or if he can reconstruct it and we'll make another affordable living unit for a citizen in Newman. And that's what the intent of this change is to allow us and the program to assist this person in making another rental unit available to someone here in Newman.
Any questions for Margaret?
Yes, Margaret, I found that HCD, I would suppose, is looked at that stringent requirement of now not allowing investors because of the purpose of these particular grants. Is there any history behind the change? Are they finding it that they want to have the money used where it may not be used as often as the mayor alluded to, making it more aggressive to let the people know that the
Their
funds are
main
available?
purpose is provide affordable housing to those individuals who need it. In this day and age, even though it's very difficult for lots of folks to buy a home, and rent is so high that lots of folks are living in substandard units because they just can't afford any better, and the landlords don't find it profitable to repair them because the rents that they're getting doesn't meet their operating costs. So with this program, it allows the landlord to get a loan at a lower interest, rehabilitate the house, but he has to guarantee that it's going to be a frozen rent for a particular period of time.
Okay.
And those who he rents to has to be the same type of person who'd be eligible for the rehab program.
Okay. So the stringent stipulations are for lower income
Yes,
persons?
that's the spirit and the purpose of the program.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll open this public hearing. Seeing no one again, we'll close the public hearing. And do we have a motion to adopt Resolution 7B?
I move that we adopt resolution number 2001, next number, a resolution adopting revised housing rehabilitation participation guidelines to include reconstruction financing for owner investors.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item 7C, adopt resolution number 2001, next number, a resolution declaring the intentions of the City Council of the City of Newman to levy and collect assessments for the fiscal year 2001-2002, approving the engineer's report as filed, and confirming the levy of assessments for the fiscal year 2001-2002.
This particular item is a result of assessment districts that were created in the mid-'80s. Their purpose is to provide lighting and landscaping for new neighborhoods going in so that it could keep up a particular standard that otherwise may not be available to the entire city due to the budget crunches. Currently, the city has over 1,000 parcels which fall under this assessment. The assessment is strictly for lighting and for landscaping. The rates haven't changed for a number of years, even though a lot of the costs have. If to change the actual dollar amounts would require a vote due to the provisions of Proposition 218. With recently switching over to the company going out to bid on the landscaping portion of the project, it has maintained those costs. We'll see next year what our electric costs are going to be once the energy crisis takes its full hold. So at this point, we do need a public hearing to authorize the assessment of these parcels. Once the hearing has been completed and the council approves the assessments, they will be sent to the tax collector's office, and the assessments will be put on the property owner's tax bills.
Margaret, the mayor was just asking concerning these, the nuisance abatement bills that we
Yes.
are attaching to this. Can you explain that? for the
Yes, there
council,
were
please?
two. During the course of the year, periodically, the council approves mistletoe and abatement notices. The individual property owners are notified. If it's not cleaned up, the city is required to do the work. After the work is done, the property owner is assessed for the cost, and they are billed accordingly. Occasionally, we have one or two property owners who don't pay that bill. Once a year, we are entitled to, the resolution that you initially passed, and the individuals have been initially notified, we have the right to put these charges on the property tax bill, and it's a one-time assessment. Some folks like it that way. It's just simpler. They pay it on their tax bill, and they don't have to deal with us.
Now, these abatement things, were these for mistletoe, you say?
One was for mistletoe, one was for weed abatement.
Okay, the weed
This-
abatement was the 1133 T Street.
That's, could be,
Okay.
this is something that could be a year old.
Oh, okay.
This is something the council has already heard and approved. You could have even done it again just recently because
Well,
it keeps
this
coming up.
This was on the agenda a couple months ago, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah,
And,
so it was billed, you heard it, and it's just to let you know, it's just an informational item to let you know that not only are we sending over the 1,000 lighting and landscaping, we're also assessing 2 properties if they don't pay by August 1st, when I'm ready to turn this over to the tax collector.
okay.
How much time did we allot for these? You said it could be over a year, but we have 2 that are specific here. Do we know how much time was allotted for?
We allow, I like
the
to
property
allow
owners to-
60 days. The problem is if we just did one like May 30th,
Mhm.
We'll send them one notice on June 30th. I'd send the second notice and say on that bill, this will be turned over to the tax collector. My window is very short. It has to go in August 1st. That is my one and only time to do it. Some people, the work could be done in July. I will not have the opportunity to turn it over until August of next year. I give them at least 30 days. After the work is done and after the first billing goes out.
In other words, you send yours in on August the 1st, we could do something for somebody in September, and it still wouldn't happen until the next August the 1st.
That's right. I'm only allowed the tax.
It could be a short time or a long time.
That's correct.
That's if they don't pay.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So it's very rare. We just have one or two that get turned over.
Any other questions for Margaret?
Final question that I have, the county's administration fee, that assessment, do we have a ballpark figure or range in?
I believe it's not a percentage. They use the same formula that the city uses when they figure their cost recovery. They will go through and figure how many pencils they use, how
For
many.
administration fee?
Yes. I think last year was like 7,000. And don't quote me on that. We have this assessment on our property tax bills, our redevelopment tax increment collections, all that. They take their fair share.
So it's the incremental?
Yes, it varies according to their costs.
Okay.
7,000 seems high. I could be confused.
We're all confused.
I will get you the exact number tomorrow.
I'm not confused. Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Margaret? Okay, we'll open this as a public hearing also. Seeing no one, close the public hearing, and we need a motion to approve item number 7C.
I so move that we approve a resolution declaring the intentions of the City Council of the City of Newman to levy and collect assessments for the fiscal year 2001-2002, approving the engineer's report as filed and confirming the levy of assessment for the fiscal year 2001. Looks like 2001, it must be 2001 to 2002.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. And the last one on the public hearings is 7D. Adopt resolution of City Council of the City of Newman approving and authorizing the execution of a disposition and development agreement between the City of Newman and Bigelow Chevrolet Buick.
I'll handle this one.
Okay.
This is an item that's been ongoing for a while. You know, the council previously approved the purchase of the property located at, and I need to make a correction here. We discovered today the actual address of the property is 1641 N Street rather than 1632. It was written in on our parcel maps incorrectly, but the actual address is 1641 N Street. It is the same property we've been talking about, though, for your information. This has been ongoing. You approved the purchase of the property. It's a total of 33,000 square feet, or about 3/4 of an acre, for a purchase price of $200,000. That comes out to approximately $6.06 per foot. After our plan is, or our proposal that we're recommending to the council is that we will take land dedication that is necessary, and we're recommending for a right-hand turn lane off of Highway 33 westbound onto Inyo Avenue. In addition, there is some property on Inyo Avenue for the road alignment to make it work also that will be dedicated to the city, or we will take as a dedication prior to selling the property back to Mr. Bigelow. There's a couple of issues we're working out as far as how it is actually designed, and working with Mr. Bigelow on there to determine what the actual square footage will be. Therefore, in the actual agreement that you were given copies of, I think I got it changed everywhere in that booklet that we call an agreement, but there are we changed the cost to show $6.06 per square foot based on the actual square footage rather than the total cost. We are estimating that to be the take will be approximately 7,000 square feet, and which would put the cost of the property down to, he would purchase it for approximately $157,575. There are a couple of issues that I've been talking to Mr. Bigelow about, and he's in the audience. He can also discuss these tonight with you. And there's I guess not a big disagreement on them, but they're requests that I've brought up, and he is requesting different than what I'm recommending. We've been able to work very well on these items, and I don't think. I think the issue is that neither one of us, it's not a deal breaker really for either one of us, but we both have different opinions of how it should be. Those two items are, number one, at the recommendation of our redevelopment attorney, I added in there a $10,000 down payment for purchase of the property. And number two is the recommendation for that him as the developer, Mr. Bigelow Chevrolet, put in the sidewalk in its future location where it will be after the right-hand turn lane be in. So it would be in as part of his development that he does. Those are the two items that I had recommended. And like I say, neither one of them are really deal breakers. I felt that it would be good to have that sidewalk in. The actual right-hand turn lane will not be installed till sometime in the future, as we deem that is necessary and other improvements are done along Highway 33. So the dedication would be there. The property, it is my understanding, and what I've talked to others about, is that he would still be able to use that property even though it has been dedicated to the city until such time as the right-hand turn lane goes in. We would probably have put together some sort of agreement where we lease that to him for $1 a year or something, just so that we have a formal agreement in place allowing him to use the property until the right-hand turn lane goes in. Generally, I think that is all of the issues you have as is required by redevelopment law. Actually, it's under the Health and Safety Code. You have a summary report included in with this document that talks about the reasons why we're doing this and how we're doing it to help reduce blight within the city as required by redevelopment law. With that, I'll leave it to the council. Perhaps, Lloyd, if you'd like to make a statement first, and then we can discuss it. Probably let him have his do his statement first, and then we can open the public hearing.
Honorable Mayor and council members, Honorable Mayor and council members. You know, what Cleve is talking about is not a deal breaker. It's just it's different. He threw it on me. I mean, he literally threw it on me Wednesday or Thursday or Friday of last week, when I thought we had pretty much settled everything. The sidewalk, you know, I have no idea how much it would cost. What he's asking is it just takes money out of my inventory. That's all it does. Okay, if I'm required to come up with the down payment, it just takes a used car off the lot, potential sell, and that kind of thing. In my way of thinking, the down payment doesn't guarantee everything. This thing is either going to work or it's not going to work. $10,000 isn't going to make the deal or break the deal. I don't really have a good argument against the $10,000. I understand where it's coming from and that kind of thing, but I don't, I mean, it doesn't give the city any guarantee. If this doesn't work, the city's going to repossess, they're going to take everything else I have, and they're going to end up with everything. If it does work, which I'm sure it will. I mean, as of right now, all of you have driven by there. You see that I'm putting some cars out on the dirt there with the approval of the current owners. But do what you have to do. You know, I mean, I don't want to put in the sidewalk. You know, I have no idea. I think we estimated it, and I can't even remember what the estimate was. I think it was around $7,000 or $8,000.
$7,000 to $8,000 is what we put
something
together.
like that. As far as me using the property that is dedicated to you, I probably would not, because I mean, I would go in there and try to get this engineered and asphalted right away, and I mean, I would be on the city to try to get that taken care of as soon as they could as far as widening, and I know it takes time, and you have approvals, you have Caltrans, the state, and all that thing, those items, and I know that takes time. But the longer it takes, the more I'm exposed to damage over there on that used car lot, from rocks, from debris that's over there on the side of that road, from people coming by and picking up something and keying the side of my cars. So, I mean, I wouldn't use anything that's not mine, because I would asphalt it, and if I'm required to put cement sidewalks in, I'd try to put those sidewalks in before you even put in that road. I don't even know if that's possible. It might not be because of, you know, potential damage that would be done by the sidewalk by putting in the street. But I would appreciate it not having to put the $10,000 down and put in the sidewalks.
Clarify that again? So you're asking not to have to put the $10,000 down
Right.
and not have to put in the sidewalks as well?
Yes.
I want to ask a question of staff on this binding agreement we have. It's so thick. Let's go to page 5, 6, and 7. Make a clarification for me, with us being the agency, on some of these fees that are being assessed through escrow, and tell me, in just pure layman's term, aren't we paying for quite a few of these assessed fees that'll go through title?
That is normal practice, from what I'm told from our redevelopment attorney. That's the fees that we agreed to when we approved the Peck and Hiller deal. They haven't changed. It says the same thing now. If you want to look at something differently, we can talk about that. But
Well,
that's
no,
what
I think it's acceptable in terms of what we're trying to do as a
Sure.
city, that we incur some of the costs.
Mhm.
But I wanted to point that out, that we are incurring, you know, some of the costs in order to set up the loan also. And I don't think it's unreasonable. I didn't know that the time frame that you were just giving this information so abruptly, so quickly. But I don't think it's unreasonable for the amount of money that we're looking at. Certainly, I adhere to some of your argument, but I'm just looking at it from a perspective of just regular business. Anytime that I've gotten a loan, I always have to come up with some money in order to get some money, which, you know, I may not have, but I have to come up with it in order to get it. And so I don't see this as being particularly unreasonable. It's less than 10%.
As far as escrow fees go, under redevelopment, I understand that this is a normal practice, but in industry itself, so the public knows that it's different. It's whatever actually, normally it's split, but it's whatever actually the people agree upon.
Right.
So if you're a good salesman, well, you can get away with more. If not, you pay more.
Well, the $10,000 isn't going to make or break this deal. Okay. And the $10,000 isn't money down the tubes. I mean, it's going to lower my interest.
Right.
Absolutely. There's absolutely no doubt about it. The only thing I'm saying is it just takes it out of inventory. That's all. If it requires a $10,000, so be it. Okay.
Cleve, as far as the sidewalk goes, if it doesn't go in now, when would it go in? Because I believe that we need more sidewalks in the city.
Well, that's what I was saying. Do we have a ballpark figure on when this turn lane is going in?
We still have some more discussions that we need to have with Caltrans, and so I can't even guess on that. I'm hoping that Caltrans will actually pay for some, if not a lot, of the construction on this, because it is on a state highway, through some sort of funding. It won't be a big project for them, but I'm hoping that a lot of the funding for that will come to them. We've obtained the right-of-way for them.
I mean, they might fund this part of the sidewalk?
They may. It just
I
depends
just don't
on what is
see
there.
putting these sidewalks in the way it exists now and then tearing them right back up.
Well, no, my proposal would be that the sidewalk would go in the relocated, the new location. Where they would
Yeah,
be.
when we know that, do we know exactly where it is, though?
Well, we don't, but there's nothing to say that he couldn't begin his project, and once we get that, then require him to put the sidewalk in at that time.
In other words, somewhere down the road here, then he would still be required to put a sidewalk in.
Correct.
Oh, okay. So it's just,
Why-
it's just delaying the
why don't
price of
we-
the sidewalk, right?
Well, right, there is gonna be a sidewalk there.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Definitely.
mean, whether it be now or later, there is going to be a sidewalk, and I mean, I want one.
Okay.
I'm, just want the city to pay for it.
You know, my thought exactly was, you said you want one, but I'm listening to you, and your words would have been, I don't want to pay for it though. But I thank you for your candidness, Mike.
But if there's a chance that you have Caltrans to take some of this, obligation,
This
I
is
don't-
what I was
I have no
thinking.
idea the ins and outs. I mean, it'd be a layman,
Well, you may not have to bear the entire cost, but we want a provision we're looking at for that to be done, on that development piece of parcel, that the sidewalk is gonna be crucial.
Wow.
Well, in other words, if at the time that it does go in and Trans funds part of it, then you pick up the rest of it. This is what we want.
that's what you want? Oh, well, I mean, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. But also, I would want the city council and their muscle to go to bat with Caltrans, because I wouldn't know where to begin.
Well, that's what we have Cleve for.
Okay, all right.
Believe
I
you
mean,
me,
if,
I've been up to the plate
Okay.
recently.
All right.
We can go to bat.
All right, all right. Yeah, because I
For
mean,
funds.
I would have no idea,
Okay.
and as far as the sidewalk, I mean, I want it. I mean, they're nice.
You can get your patrons in and out there, right? So we kind of looking at a contingency whether or not this cost will become a factor for the sidewalk.
Well, that's what I would say, but.
Yeah, well, if Caltrans would agree, to pick up the cost or a portion thereof, and then Lloyd would agree to pick up the rest of it,
Right.
I think that's
This is what-
reasonably fair.
So either way, it's not a cost factor that'll be readily associated with the property the moment you move in. That's what I'm looking for. Cleve, you have an answer to that?
Well, that's true.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
It could be
Right.
actually
Right.
what may be
It could
considered a
be year,
deferred
2 years
cost.
down the road, whatever,
Okay.
whatever.
Well, in my opinion,
I-
I would agree to forego the 10,000 down payment with the contingent of the sidewalk.
Sound reasonable.
It's council's choice.
Would you like to make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Wait a minute, we need, this is a public
Well, we have to have a
opening.
public
This is
hearing
yeah, we
first,
gotta-
right?
yeah. Any other questions first for Lloyd? Okay, we'll open the public hearing. We will close the public hearing.
Okay, well, then I would make a
Now the
motion
motion, there you
that we would remove the $10,000 down payment, but have a contingent clause that when the sidewalk is put in, that if Caltrans would pick up part of it, that Bigelow Chevrolet would pick up the rest. If Caltrans didn't, then Bigelow Chevrolet would pick up the total cost.
Does everyone understand that? Okay, understand enough to make a second on that? Anyone?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item number 8, consent calendar. Approval of warrants. Item 8B, approval of minutes of July 10, 2001 special meeting and July 10, 2001 regular meeting. Item 8C, adopt resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection and committing $4,050 in matching funds. Any questions on the consent calendar? Do we have a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item number 9. 9A. Discuss and review business license surcharge ordinance.
There's the boa.
Are you going to be the
Margaret-
Chamber of Commerce tonight? Mr.
Margaret, were
Revola?
you going to speak on this also?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. What were you saying?
Your Honor.
Your worship.
I just wondered if you were going to be the Chamber of Commerce tonight, since I don't see...
Not to my knowledge. Perhaps
Okay,
Mr. Bigelow is a Board of
Director.
Directors member. Perhaps he is going to represent the Chamber. I don't
Mr. Wallace is the one that wrote this, and I just wondered if, and I don't see him out here.
Margaret prepared this report if you'd like her to
Okay.
comment on it.
Bob, do you have anything to say? You want Margaret to give her
Well,
idea of
that's
the report
I'm
first?
a big believer in doing things in a proper manner, and so that's what
Okay.
staff report on it.
Okay.
Hi, Margaret.
Hello. This item is a continuation from the June 12th meeting. It has been brought to staff's attention that council and the chamber was interested in perhaps revising the current business license surcharge ordinance, which specifies how the money can be used, which is collected from the businesses at a rate of 50% surcharge. Currently, the creation of the district and the collection of the funds is authorized by the state of California, and we need to comply with that. We can't do anything more or beyond what the law states. The law gives us 5 specific uses of this business license surcharge funding: the acquisition, maintenance, and construction of parking facilities, the decoration in a public area, promotion of public events, which are to take place in the district, the furnishing of music in a public area, and also general promotion of business activities in the area. The Chamber of Commerce submitted a letter requesting that items 1, 2, 5 be the items specified that the use of the funds are restricted to. And this evening I guess it's just open to the council to discuss which items are to be used and how the code is to be structured. And
Margaret?
Yep.
Item number 5, the general promotion of business activities in the area. Would you consider advertising to be promotion?
Yes, I would.
Okay, that seems to be the only bone of contention I really see in here is the interpretation of promotion is in advertising. Anyone else has any questions for Margaret?
Margaret, how many business licenses are there?
Currently, this July 1st, we bill annually. We mailed out 425 business licenses to be renewed, and of those, 354 are assessed the license surcharge.
And Bob, do you know how many are chamber members? I thought, you
To the
told
best
me
of my
one.
knowledge, it's less than 100.
That's what I thought, okay. Okay. About a third, less than a third.
Any other questions for Margaret? Okay, thank you, Margaret. I think that's all. Last time we'll bother you tonight, I'm not sure, but...
I'll stay up here.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Nouveau.
As you know, I had submitted a statement for the benefit of the council and staff regarding this issue, and I'll be happy to address any questions. Just to reiterate that this initially was set up as a physical improvement fund for the business community, and I just strongly recommend that you retain its initial purpose and not deviate, even though the state allows you some latitude. I think for the integrity of this, as it was originally set up, try to maintain its purpose, and I think it would serve the city far better than trying to go a broad, sweeping effort as is being tried. And also, just as a comment, I think it's appropriate to point out that, as I understand it, you didn't get a whole lot of response on this, and it's unfortunate. It's a reality. But I do think it's very important that we look at responses from people that hold business license in Newman and not in adjacent communities.
Well, Mr. Wallace told me that he got 2 responses, one from Bob Navoa and one from a business, from a person in Gustine who is a member of the Chamber of Newman, however, does not hold a business license.
Yeah, and I think it's terrific that we have folks joining the chamber from other communities, and it's important that it be supported from all avenues. However, this issue is a Newman issue and should be regarded as such. Any questions from the council?
I would like to pose a question to you, if I may.
Certainly.
And it's in regards to the fact that we have, where it can be written in resolution, an advisory committee. That's something I would lean more towards than the sole responsibility with the chamber. What are your ideas?
Well, if you reference the memo that I sent, I really feel strongly that we should have a committee. Unfortunately, we haven't had one, and there really hasn't been a lot of input from any quarter to bring projects to the table. So I think it's evident that we need a committee. And I would recommend that we set up a group of either 3 to 5 people. And if it's 3, then 1 member of the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, 1 business person at large, and 1 city council member. If it's 5, then a same representation, 2 from the Chamber of Commerce, 2 from at large, and 1 from the council. And that the council member not be required to hold a business license. Obviously, you're the governing body, and you're going to sit as a committee chair, not as the chair of that committee, perhaps, but at least as the liaison between that committee and the city council, so that you can more readily facilitate that process and get it back to the council with some input that is first at hand, rather than just hearsay, in my opinion. Not that it's hearsay that the committee would do, but I think it's important that with this particular committee, because you're going to be deciding where this money is spent, that someone from this body be involved from the ground up. I just personally feel that's important. And as far as the general makeup of the committee, it can be 3 or 5. My personal opinion is the smaller a committee is, the better off you're going to be. You get a lot more done. So,
Okay, from the chamber, Mr. Wallace's letter suggested that the committee be comprised of chamber members, but in reading your letter, I kind of go along with the committee that has 1 from the chamber, 1 from the business at large, and appointee by our mayor from the council.
yeah. I'll just point out, it's pretty evident that the chamber does not have the majority representation
They have
within
less
the
than a third.
business license holders. And that's not a negative, it's a reality. And so it's something that I feel strongly about, that they shouldn't have the final say.
I have a question. Out of the 5, what do you promote?
As I'd stated in my memo, I think you need to limit it to physical improvements in the business community.
You highlighted that quite a few times.
Yeah, which, I like to make a strong point, right? Nobody can read it.
Physical
You know,
improvements would-
if I might just
Sure,
read it,
highlight.
we believe at this time, and still do, that physical improvements should include but not be limited to decorative streetlights, flags, banners, entry signs, trash cans, bike racks, and any other physical improvement that would enhance the business district and the quality of the experience for all who that live and shop or travel through Newman. And that's part of what this, it's not part, it is surprising to me, and I'll take some responsibility because I believe I was on this original committee, that this language was not written into the ordinance. It was given to the council at the time when we proposed this as a Chamber of Commerce. And somehow these things just get left by the wayside at times, and certainly it's not this council or this staff that was responsible, because I think it's been about how many years, Margaret? It's been a long time. But at any rate, that was our intent. And, for better or for worse, I'm one of the few people left around that remembers. And the council certainly has liberty to adjust this and amend it as they see appropriate, but I would hope that you would retain its original intent. And one of the things I would point out, certainly there's funds in there that have accumulated over the years, but there's still no entry sign on Hills Ferry Road. And we need one out there. That is a very heavily traveled street. Road. It is an entry point to Newman that is probably, it is the 3rd busiest one. Obviously, north and south are the biggest
Which would be
ones.
good usage of the
Absolutely,
surcharge fund.
absolutely. That's what it was intended for.
Basically, what you're saying, Bob, is items number 1 and 2 of the state, which I'll read them Number 1 is acquisition, construction, or maintenance of parking facilities in district and decoration of any public place in the area. On item number 5, the general promotion of business activities, I feel that's worthwhile. I don't necessarily agree with the advertising part of it, but
Yeah.
to promote,
there's
other ways to promote.
Right, right. And part of the promotion of businesses would be banners you could use for specific types of events that
Like
would
the fall
promote,
festival banners and
that
things
would
like that
promote
we have,
business
yeah.
in general, not specific business, but business in general. Because when you say, you know, we're going to have a big festival this period in time, that's promoting what's going on in Newman.
Well, I think
And
then what we
and-
should do is on the general promotion of business activities, excluding advertising.
Could I make a statement here just quickly? Bob, you mentioned the entry sign to the city. Which one of these categories would you put that under, of these 5? If we were to put an entry sign out on Hills Ferry Road using these funds?
Read the 5 to me again, I'm sorry, I don't. have them
Acquisition
together.
or construction and maintenance of parking facilities, decoration of any public place in the area.
That's it,
Number 2.
number 2.
Well, probably number 5 is general promotion of business activities.
I think you
That
could
would
argue
be
it could be
more-
under
You could-
general
it could
promotion.
either
way.
See,
Both.
it depends on how you look at that. I
Right.
guess the point I'm trying to make, and not to be negative, because I agree with what you're saying. I like the idea of it being physical improvements. I don't particularly like the advertising aspect of it. Although the point and I asked Margaret to write this report, and I asked her to put the part in there that I feel that they should consider adopting all
Absolutely.
5 items. Because I think you could put physical items in any one of these 5. If you look at these and read through these, you could find a physical improvement that would be a permanent improvement that would fit under any one of these 5 categories. And I think by not adopting the 5, you may be restricting yourselves
Okay.
to where you're perhaps saying, well, I think maybe it fits in this category, but maybe not.
I appreciate what you're
So,
saying.
so perhaps if you adopt all 5, but then maybe we put some language into our actual ordinance that restricts it to physical improvements, permanent physical improvements, rather than advertising, if you will, then perhaps that meets both desires that we have in here.
Right, and when I read those initially and tried to come up with a way, you know, to dance around that issue, the memo that I sent you is pretty much the best I could do. And I certainly accept your position, and if the council can write in some language that restricts it to physical issues and not advertising. You know, because, again, the initial intent was not dollars in the wind, if I could say that, you know, it just, and I'm not suggesting advertising is a good thing, but
Sure.
advertising campaigns are very expensive. You get very little for very
Well,
little.
and
I mean,
and that's what I
it
say,
doesn't happen.
I think you need to define advertising too, because let's say that we put up an entry sign out there and we decide to put on the bottom of it, Shop Newman. It's a permanent entry sign. Isn't that advertising?
For the whole,
For the whole
For the whole
good of
city.
the whole community,
Yeah.
for
But
all
it
the-
is,
all the
but it
business
is
owners.
advertising, and that's what I'm saying. So I think you need to be careful
But it-
there too, and make sure that, you know,
Right.
you can read anything you want into these things.
Right, the only thing,
yeah,
and this is personally my position, okay? I just don't want to leave the door open to see this money
I
friddled
understand.
away on things that may or may not have some effect, because if any of us that are in business will tell you, it is very, very difficult to gauge our advertising dollars. We spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars annually, and we both scratch our head and wonder, are we doing any good out there?
Right.
You know, and so we don't know what
Yeah.
percentage of that
And
is
I
really
think-
put to good use.
I think I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying we need to make sure that we word that right to understand, you know, we don't want TV ads, we don't want newspaper ads, we don't want, you know,
Right.
that sort of thing.
generic.
But
If-
we
you know, and I
want
certainly
more
would leave it to.
I think
physical
what-
improvement.
I understand the position. I would leave it to staff to determine the language of that and trust the council to maintain
I
its
think
integrity.
what we're doing is coming up with a generalized ordinance here. And what, if we have this, and we're approving a committee, advisory committee, the advisory committee will take up individual items and go from there. I think that if we come up with a generalized ordinance, I think that would pretty well cover it as far as, you know, what's available. But if someone has a discussion or a disagreement with individual items, they would take it to the advisory committee and see what happens from there, and the advisory committee would come to the council.
I don't disagree with that portion of it. I just would, again, hope that the language would be such that you really put a physical limit on where the money is spent.
Yeah, I don't see the furnishing of music, I don't know why that, I don't think that's necessary. But
Well, let me give you an example. Let's say that someday down the road, we have nice shops all the way along the street. We decide to put speakers underneath awnings
Like Sacramento
and
did.
provide music in certain
Sacramento
areas.
did
I've
that.
seen it done in lots of little towns that have things like that. Not say that we would do that, but, you know, that's a physical improvement that
That brings people downtown
maybe,
because you have the
maybe you
music.
decide to do.
there's this little
Okay.
town out in the desert, Las Vegas, they do that. And, in their downtown area, and it's quite effective. It kind of.
Yeah, but they're just a flash in the pan.
That's all I'm saying. I don't think
I
we want to
appreciate
do
what
that
you're
right
saying.
now, but who knows?
Yeah.
Sometime
No.
down the road, that might be very feasible and see something.
As
I
long
see
as
that
people couldn't construe it to say, okay, this group wants to pay for a band to be down there, or something like that.
Well,
And,
can we send it back to staff then, with the idea that we're, with all five, limiting, knocking out the TV, newspaper, magazine advertising?
We can work on some language and try to come up with something.
Yeah.
that-
Yeah,
Can we
see
get
if
it
we
to-
can come up with some language for an ordinance that will include these. but-
Well, and I like what
little more
Mr.
specific.
Naveau has put it as far as physical improvements. I think, you know, like I said, the music that I defined would be a physical improvement. To have a band come in is not gonna be a physical improvement. Advertising on TV and radio and in the newspaper is not a physical improvement. But putting a sign, a permanent sign at the entry that says Shop Newman or Shop Downtown Newman, would be a physical improvement, that's a permanent improvement. So maybe there's some language that we can do, as he has suggested, that would meet that requirement, meet the intent that we're looking at.
Can we have a consensus to direct staff, to come up with a resolution?
I'd just like to make a comment, you know, we can make this so restrictive, you know, it's like, and somewhere down the road, you may want to do something, and because you've created a problem for yourself, you're not going to be able to do it. So, I mean, so that's something you really have to watch out for.
Well, that's what I was saying, the advisory committee is the one to take up the individual things and bring it back, which, I don't know if that's, was that in here?
That's not part of it.
That's
It does
not
talk
part of
about
it here,
the
yeah.
advisory
Yeah, I
committee.
think that's something we ought to look into a little closer.
Well, another thing you have to look at too, it all boils down to the council makes the final decision.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's.
I think that's the best thing that's been said about this whole discussion. And I just want to add a comment very briefly and yield here to Mr. Bigelow, is that the mayor brought this to our attention initially using this State and Highway Code 36500, which has been incorporated in the staff report. And the whole reason why you brought it to our attention in discussing with the chamber also is that we were looking for language that didn't restrict us so much as what we currently have. That's why we're looking at it. We're currently restricted. And to give ear to Mr. Navoa's argument of the physical permanent structure or something of that nature, I think the assessment is a trust factor. It's a trust factor with this local city government and also with persons like himself from the business community that will express their thoughts before we make a judgment on whether or not we're going to allocate funds for whatever expenditure it may be. But just concurring with my colleague here, Martina, you know, we're not looking to make it more restrictive in the language. We're looking to open it up because we already have restrictions. And I think our discretion, along with an advisory board and comment from the merchants themselves, will give us the adherence to spend the money responsibly.
I agree. I don't think that you want to make it real restrictive. I think you have to trust the people that you've appointed to this committee. And I know that Mr. Navoa said 3 people, but I would recommend the 5 people so that you maybe don't have any conflict of interest, or it's not such a small group. You get more of a wider range of ideas and those kind of things. Make it 5 people, and then it comes to the council for the decisions. Because, I mean, I can see, you know, where you have a big promotion and maybe they want to put rent a balloon for a weekend that says Shop Newman. okay, and that, you know, that you put it 150, 250 feet in the air with banners attached to it. And that's not promoting one business, it's promoting Newman. And if those 5 people in the city council say yes, then you do it. If they don't, then you don't do it. You know, it's as simple as that. You got to have a little trust. There's that money, it needs to be used, and for the beautification of Newman, I agree. I mean, we could do a lot of things there, and the city's making good strides, and we can do more. But don't limit that. Don't limit it too much. You know, as far as advertising for individual companies, I agree with you. You can't do it. Absolutely cannot. But shoot, don't restrict that money so much that you take all use away from it.
For those of you who don't know, Mr. Bigelow is the vice president and the director of the chamber. Any other comments?
I think we should get the advisory committee up and running first before we make any decisions on any changes,
All right.
you know.
Cleve, you want to handle that?
Well,
What
Well,
Bob has in
sure.
his letter here, you know, the division of it, how the makeup is.
sure, no,
It's pretty good.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's an easy one to do. We can do that. And that's fine if you want to get the advisory committee together first, or if you want, you know, either way.
Well, the decisions-
I was thinking that we would amend the ordinance, which would create the advisory committee as
Yes.
part of the ordinance.
I agree.
And if we're going to amend it, I would prefer to amend it once, but we can.
Can we,
The ordinance, the
you know,
decision of the ordinance is up to the council.
Can we have that for the next meeting?
The ordinance?
Yeah.
Sure.
Can you show a 5-member committee? Yeah, everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
I think
Five
that's,
is good.
I think that's
Yeah.
concurrence
2, 2, and
there.
1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so,
I think just by consensus. Do we need a motion on
No.
this?
no, we can
Consensus is
table
fine.
it by consensus. Everyone agreed that we'll table this to come back at the next meeting?
We don't
with
really
the-
need to
No,
table it.
well,
We'll just,
okay.
we'll just
Direction.
reschedule it as a
Reschedule,
new item,
okay,
because
new
we'll
item.
need to
All right.
have the first reading of the ordinance to make the changes.
All right, now we come to item number 9B, which is adopt resolution number 01.
I think
Next
you're
number?
9C,
No, we have a, there's a,
9D.
That new
Yeah,
item.
it's
The
the
one
new
that we
one that
added.
Cleve
We
gave
added,
you at the
okay.
beginning here. It's item 9B now.
9B.
B,
It's right there. No, this is the- Wait, wait.
As in
The
Bob.
one I handed out.
Okay.
This one. Is it underneath there? Yeah. No, that's not it either. They shouldn't have a number on it. Anyway, here's one. That's yours. Just use that one. I have an extra, so.
Anyway, it's adopt resolution number 01, next number, accepting dedication of land from Dumas Ventures and authorize M. Cleve Morris, the city clerk, to record same on behalf of the city of Newman. Cleve?
This item, if you look at the back map on the back page, is we've been developing the Walnut Creek subdivision, which is the one located kind of behind Von Renner School. It was discovered by our city engineer and theirs also, basically, I guess, that there's a 3.5-foot strip of land. You can see it runs along Creek Park Drive, which was not dedicated to the city. In other words, it's a little piece of no man's land that still belongs to Dumas Ventures, the developers of the Creek Canyon subdivision. And so this item, they finally got Dumas Ventures to agree to sign off on a quitclaim deed. And they requested, they were kind of concerned that he might change his mind, and so they requested this item be added to the agenda. Otherwise, it would have had to wait till the 14th of August. So that's the reason it was added to the agenda. All we're doing is, in order for them to record the quitclaim deed, we need to have this resolution adopted saying that the city of Newman accepts the dedication. It will then be added to the roadway. It'll become part of the roadway going along that area. One point that I wanted to make is this 3.5-foot strip actually also runs clear down to the end of to the south of the Creek Canyon subdivision along the back of homes. You can see what they've taken care of here are next to lots, I believe it's saying 167, 78, well, anyway, those areas, it shows part of those. But so there will be, when the property to the south of Walnut Creek develops, this issue will come up again with the next developer. This developer is taking care of their portion, but the next portion may be even more difficult because it's probably going to be a 3.5 foot strip of land that will be in between the backyards of two sets of homes, because this further down backs up to homes. And the question will be, does it go to the current homeowners? Does he sell it to the new property owners? But that is something I just want to let you know will probably have to be resolved in the future. This, though, will allow the Walnut Creek subdivision now to proceed with what they need to do. So.
Make a very long, narrow park.
Yeah.
So, all right, can we have some action on this?
Yeah, I move that we adopt resolution number 2001, next number, accepting dedication of land from Dumas Ventures, and authorize M. Cleve Morris, as city clerk, to record same on behalf of the city of Newman.
Second?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item number 9C. Review downtown streetscape funding and provide staff direction.
Mayor and Council, if I could, I'd like to walk through this handout that I gave you tonight. I apologize for the late date in this, but were issues as we're going on a daily basis almost that we're trying to resolve with this, and I wanted to get as current information as I could. I just wanted to explain a few things. If you look on the first page, I have expenditures to date. This is the same document to this point that I gave you previously when we started the streetscape. You can see the $226,000, which includes design, engineering, planning, and some miscellaneous expenses. Expected expenditures, this is the part I kind of wanted to go over. The construction contract now and this has not been, there's nothing that's been redone. In fact, many of the change orders still have not been done. But our estimate, this is based on some work we had Bill Henry do and working with the contractor to get some numbers. The contract is basically coming in at $1,972,006. As you recall, the original contract was $1,980,000, so we're close to that just for the construction. Just quickly, if you turn over to the second page, you can see I've got some line items showing. You see the difference over on the right. The positives that you see there are actually good for us. The negatives are ones that we're actually paying more. The positives are ones that we're paying less. These are some of the line items. Most of these, if you look at line item 7, that's one of the big ones. You can see if you look at the original quantity, the second column, and the third column, the new quantity, this is the sidewalk. In Bill Henry's calculations and going through this, he came up with that there was about 14,000 less square feet of sidewalk than what was included in the bid. And there were possibly various reasons for that, but that was one of the large items. Second item that I can bring up is item number 14. This was street signs. As you can see, it was originally 38 and would have been $76,000 or $2,000 a piece. And we are deleting $32,000 because we were cutting that down to 22 street signs for a total of $44,000. The reason for that is we have taken, the original plan showed, as you know, along Main Street, we have signs for no parking in the early mornings for the times that we do our street sweeping. What we are doing, we are taking those signs and we are going to just locate them on street lights rather than have separate poles for them, because that will eliminate more poles that you have to have. It just kind of cleans up the whole thing, and this was approved by the Streetscape Committee also. So those are a couple of the big line item things. Some of these are quantity things. Down line item number 26, that is the asphalt paving. That is due to the fact that after we got into it and reviewed it with our engineers, it was the original bid included Petromat. And if you want a technical explanation of that, you'll have to talk to Ernie, but it's a mat that they put down underneath the asphalt that helps hold things together. It was determined in talking to Bill Henry, Gary Davis, and Ernie, and our contractor, that Petromat, in this case, for what we are doing, is not going to do any good. It doesn't make any sense to put it down. and therefore the petromat was eliminated. That reduced the cost of the overlay by 10 cents per, what is it, square foot, Ernie? Is that a square foot price? So you can see that cut $11,000 out. Total amount that was cut out, as you can see, the bottom line is $126,550. Continuing down on that page, there are some changes noted here. Number one is build-up AC. That item is, in the original bid, it included a 1/10 of a foot overlay for the entire project. Well, that works fine, except that in many areas, the sidewalk is being raised, and therefore the street is being raised on the edges in order to make it match and to meet the 6-inch curb that we are designed to have throughout the city, rather than some of the 18-inch that we have now. Well, obviously, if you only put a 1/10 of a foot on there, you're not going to build up to eliminate that 18-inch curb. So there was build-up that is required in there, and that's what this is, the build-up of AC, which is an additional $18,000 they've estimated. The second item is stamped concrete inside the crosswalks. As you know, we have the crosswalks, which are brick lined going across the streets, and that is a colored concrete, colored stamped concrete in those areas. As we talked to the contractor and worked with Bill Henry, we talked about what was the best way. Originally, it kind of showed that the old asphalt was going to remain in the center of these. As we got talking about it, it was discussed, and we said, that's not going to work very well. We didn't feel that the look was going to be right. And so what was recommended, and what we're looking at doing, we're recommending, is to actually include stamped concrete in the middle of the intersection. So the asphalt would all be pulled out, and it would be stamped concrete in the middle of the intersections. It's recommended, and we'll still go back and talk about this more, but it's recommended that that would not be the colored. It would just be the regular gray concrete, so that you have the contrast from the crosswalks. So it would be a different color to give you that contrast from the crosswalk. So that's the second item. The third item is intersection approaches. This is, again, related to the buildup of AC. In order to get your intersections, as you know, our sidewalks are now going to be level coming across the street. And in order to get that buildup in that crosswalk and coming up around the crosswalks, there's additional AC that is also going to be required in those areas. So again, it's built up because of what we're doing to basically raise the street up, so that when you come down the sidewalk, you're walking level across the street. There's no handicap ramp that goes down or anything. It's just level all the way across. So that was another item that, again, all that was included was the 1/10 of a foot overlay. And in order to build that up to make it work, that is required. The final item is moving some fire hydrants. Unfortunately, the bid, this was just an error that was in the documents, included pulling out the fire hydrants, but it didn't show them going back in anywhere. And so that had to be corrected. Obviously, we didn't think we ought to be going without fire hydrants, so that's a $1,200 item. Bottom line, total of these changes is $80,000. And when you add those two together, you come up with a total of $1,933,924. And then there are three items that staff have come up with that we are also recommending. The first item, and I think I mentioned this in my staff report, when we did the original plans, everybody's assumption and looking at it and talking about it was that the section of sidewalk between on Merced Street, the north side, between the alley and Highway 33, where the Texaco and the auto parts store built, everybody assumed that those sidewalks were replaced and were good sidewalks when that project was done. Well, they were not. Those sidewalks are as bad as any of the other sidewalks we have in the city. And therefore, since we were going down to the alley, as we looked at that, we felt that we should continue, or we feel at this time that we should continue that on. This is not an estimate from the contractor. This is an estimate from Bill Henry based on the pricing that the contractor has provided. He's saying it will be an additional $22,000 to complete that down to the end.
This will be with irrigation and everything in the same as the rest
Yes,
of it? Okay.
yes, everything as planned. Now, like I say, once we get into it with the contractor, because he has not provided an actual cost on this may vary somewhat, but this is an estimate that we have from our engineer at this time.
Everything up until this point is part of our original plan. This
That's correct.
part that you have is an addition, these last 3 items.
These last 3 items would be additions that we are asking the council to consider. Yeah. Next item is conduit at the alleys. As you know, we've looked into and we've been exploring with the council being able to do an underground project for our utilities that are in the alleys. The concern came up, well, when we do that, we're going to have to dig across the street. 2 on Fresno and 1 on Tulare will be improved with this project. And therefore, we're recommending that those 3 alleys, we contract with the contractor to put conduits in. I have a proposal from him for this amount to place these conduits in that will facilitate the undergrounding of those utilities without us having to dig up that street that we've improved.
That's on.
Now, it may be quite some time down the road, who knows, but we have began that process to begin looking at undergrounding those utilities, so it may happen sooner if we can make it work. The last item came up recently was being able to put quick couplers on the irrigation system. So, for example, if our public works crew or a maintenance person needed to clean something up on the sidewalks, wanted to spray down the sidewalks or whatever, they could do that. Originally, we thought this was going to be a simple item because we thought the water lines are already running through there, and it can easily be added a quick coupler. The problem is it's not that simple because the lines that will be running through there originally are not live. They're only live when the sprinklers are running. So therefore, you would not.
They're dry pipes?
Pardon?
They're dry pipes? Then?
They're dry except for when the sprinklers are running. Okay, so there is, if you're familiar with sprinkler system, there is a valve. There are only 2 valves for this whole system, and so the water lines will actually connect in the alleys, and the pipes will run down through the city and connect. There'll actually be some looping systems to connect the whole thing for all of the water to the planter pots and to the tree wells. But you could only then use the quick couplers if the sprinklers were on, which is not what we desire. So in order for them to do that, they would have to run a new irrigation line through the whole system.
And the purpose
From
of
the
this?
alley, right?
From the alley. And the purpose would be to have quick couplers. It's a coupler that you can hook up a hose to,
Right.
and water down if you needed to spray something down on the street, spray something down on the sidewalks, et cetera, et cetera.
How were we doing that before? Using the fire hydrant?
Good question, Ernie.
Individual businesses usually use
Some
that.
businesses have,
Yeah.
some businesses have their own.
Uh-huh.
On the
Faucets.
businesses, right.
Okay. All right.
This $8,000 is actually high. I think we looked at it and said this included 3 per block, and I think we figured we could do 2. Is that correct, Ernie?
I believe so.
And so this will actually be lower than this, but I put it in here just to be safe at this time until we come up with. We did receive a proposal for 3 from the irrigation contractor. And I have, just to let you know, I have talked to the irrigation contractor because he got me the quotation the day he was beginning to put the irrigation system in. I told him it is not approved yet, and it will not be until I come to this meeting, at least, and it may not be approved. But he has gone ahead and put the 2 irrigation lines in to provide for this if necessary, and that's basically only in the intersections because that's the only place he's begun putting his irrigation line in.
Well, with the additions and the deletions, we're still under the original bid.
Total amount is the $1,972,006 with those additions.
So that's
yes.
roughly 8,000 below the original 198.
That's correct.
I have a couple of questions of this staff report.
Sure.
This fund analysis. The available revenue,
Yes.
you have here for the T funds 145,000
Yes. We originally had 75,000.
that we already had appropriated.
Right, and I
with the other
believe
80.
with what you got was approximately 80,
Yeah.
78 to 80,000.
145. So
It may be a little bit higher than this. I was trying to get the answer from Stancog today, and they never did call me back and give me the answer of what that exact amount was. So this is actually probably about 5,000 more. I was being a little bit conservative.
So we're almost at 2.4 for this total project of available funds.
Correct.
And of course, we aren't looking at any serious cost overruns as yet from this report.
Well, we're not, but there's a lot of
Oh,
unknowns
wait,
in this
oh.
downtown. But you see, what that does is that provides us about $100,000 contingency, which is 5%, which for a project this size, I think is a good contingency. Originally, Bill Henry, if you look at his page, I think I attached to his, he had shown a 3% for contract overruns and unforeseen. I think that that's a little bit low. Sometimes for some projects, I've seen it go as high as 10 to 15% for construction projects. But I think 5% based on where we're at in the project is a good number.
Now, some of these things that were due to omissions and errors on the from the previous engineer, we could possibly go back and be reimbursed for those at a later date.
Well,
from insurance.
the cost for making the changes for the engineer, for design changes and engineering changes, those would be. The actual cost for the construction of the changes would not be an errors and omission cost. So it would only be the cost that we spend time changing the plans, redoing the plans, or sometime we spent, there's been a few when we've been out in the field actually doing a little bit of design as we go actually out in the field. So those costs technically we could consider going back on errors and omissions insurance. But the actual construction costs that I'm showing here, I don't believe, Tom, help me out, I don't believe that would be a cost that we would be able to recover.
Yeah, I agree with your analysis.
So we
so
would
the
get
big
some,
cost,
but
you
nothing.
know,
Okay.
Yeah,
can't recover, frankly.
right.
Any other questions for Cleve?
No, I just recommend that we go ahead with the additions that he outlined in his report.
Is that in the form of a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0.
If I can just make one more point on this contingency perhaps, you need to realize that on the things that Bill Henry redid, the quantities, we will not know those until the actual project is built, these different items. And because of the way it was bid, and this is normal, it's bid on a unit basis, so that if there is a certain amount of additional quantity, depending on what that is, it does become an additional cost if it's over a certain percentage. If not, then it does not become an additional cost. So these numbers, well, we know that these numbers will still change as we get into quantities and stuff, but we feel Bill is very comfortable with the numbers that he has come up with in this report. So
Bill did a good job.
All right, item number 9D, provide staff direction for energy conservation pledge. This is from the governor, League of California Cities, the counties, and I'm not sure what this other one is, but basically what they want us to do is, we came up with a 7% savings, and now they want 15%. Do we have any record of how much we've actually, difference between this year and last year?
we have not done an analysis of that yet, I don't believe, have we, Margaret, as far as, I mean, the main thing that we've done currently is try to be more conscientious. I know in all of our operations, basically in offices, turning off lights that we don't need, make sure we turn off our computers at night and things like that. But we have not done a full analysis, mainly just because of, you know, time constraints to put into doing something like that.
Do we have outlets that we completely turn the computers off, or do we leave them on standby at night?
We
turn
turn
the switches off on the
most
computer.
of them we turn off. We shut them off. We do not shut down. We do not shut down our server, do we? At night, that has to keep running.
The LAN? No.
But all the other PCs we do shut off.
Does anyone read in the the city magazine, any of those
Well,
things they had?
One of the things is some of the cities are coming in at 7 o'clock in the morning and going home at 4, and then leaving it open in the morning so it keeps it cooler.
Air conditioning costs.
Yeah, a lot of air conditioning costs are very high. And I've seen several cities that have done that.
And then there's some that are working a 10-hour, 4-day week.
Right, this is true
And,
too.
But
And
there were
closed
several
one
other
day.
things in that city magazine that were a little different.
My only point with this is if the council wants to approve this, and we have no problem with doing it, it's gonna take some staff time, concerted effort to begin looking at this and identify other ways. I think what we've done so far has just kind of been kind of looking at it and being more aware of what we're doing. With this, though, I believe that we will need to take some hard looks at it if the council wants us to try to achieve this 15%.
Would you have any objections of like the 7 to 4 or?
We can take a look at that and review it. There's other possibilities as far as work schedules, like you say,
Right.
as far as a 4-day week, or we've reviewed that, and there's some who are very much in favor and some who are against. So
Well, Margaret could stay at home and turn her light off in her office. She could work from her home on the computer.
When we look at the cost reductions for the city, and we're trying to get up to this par that the state is suggesting, the 15%, what I'm hearing right now is just our one city hall building, but I think part of this is in reference to any power
All
source
the city
that's from the
buildings.
city. So that this is just one element, and I know just from hearing some of the talk in the larger cities, they're able to shut down mass amount of lights within the cities that bring them up to this 15%. I'm just putting it on a scale
Oh, yeah.
with us. I mean, I think taking the adequate steps that we have been taking, and perhaps looking into whether or not scheduling and coming in earlier in the morning and leaving earlier in the day for offsetting, air
But
conditioning
it's
costs.
like some large cities, they've replaced all of their streetlights with LEDs. Well, with 2 streetlights, that wouldn't make much of a savings
Right,
here. But,
absolutely. So I'm just putting it
We're
on
not,
a
we're not
scale.
really, we're looking at cost savings to the city, but we're also looking at reducing power
Just
that we may not
conservation
have. Yeah.
efforts, yeah. Okay.
I'm surprised they didn't tie an incentive to this. Well,
They
they
did.
do with the residentials.
yeah.
Did you
Well-
get your 20% off of yours, or?
No, I didn't make the 20%.
I got mine for the last 2 months.
I did too.
I did.
Yeah.
It's been hot in my house.
Well,
but-
it depends on
Yeah.
where you're at. In all fairness to a lot of our citizens, they've probably been conserving energy for a long
Yes,
time.
I think
for us
so.
to ask them to do 20% more may not be feasible. So I mean, it's like somebody that's used a lot of energy, they can cut back.
Yeah.
People that
I guess one of the things that I had a little bit of concern about was the language used in this. We voluntarily pledged to implement programs in our government buildings and facilities to reduce our electricity use by up to 15% from last year's usage. Well, I guess it's open up, it says up to
I think it
15%.
says we'll do our best.
Yeah.
Just leave out the 15%. We voluntarily will try our
Well, yeah,
best.
that's what it amounts to. So that's what I would consider us continuing to do.
I did get a call from PG&E today volunteering to come out and talk to us about what could be done to reduce energy. So
Well, there
we'll
you have
we'll
it.
take a
They're-
look at that.
They're that so-called
Yeah.
experts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
That's
we
why
ought
they're
to look at it
bankrupt.
anyway, and if
That's
we
why
can
I
just
said
get an
so-called.
idea, if we can get an idea of what we actually, how much we used last year for a given month, to say even 1 month, July, compared to July this year, and then we'll have an idea what we actually have saved. And then we can go from there.
Okay.
And if we think that it's going to be more involved, well, we'll discuss it another day. Anyone?
No.
The last 3 weeks, the first 3 weeks in July, the state had too much power. Did you read that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they sold it for
Yeah.
$1.
We didn't use enough, I guess.
But you would like us to go ahead and make this pledge and then
Is
proceed?
that,
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think the
yeah, I
pledge
think
is
so.
fine.
Yeah.
To put a whole lot of
Just do the
staff
best.
time in it, in particular, I don't think that you need to concede to that. Maybe this PG&E
no, but
representative.
we'll never
Use it.
recover our costs,
Yeah.
at that rate, but for some, just to find out basically where we stand, I think
Yes,
is,
you got my energy.
Kind of like at your convenience.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, number 9E, Fall Festival. We see our chairman just walked in.
Cool.
This is basically the Fall Festival 2001 parade route. Has everyone read it? And
Just one correction.
you go, I know, you go west.
You
not
go
east,
west on
Tom.
Fresno.
Yes, I know. You lose the parade if you go to the east, yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
I sort of figured you'd pick up on that. Susan, do you have anything you want to say?
Oh, sure.
You normally do, I just...
I know, well, we might be now.
No comment.
Okay. No, not yet. I don't care. If they don't like it, we just won't have a parade. Susan Mattis, 744 Hardin Road. I'm sorry, but I don't have a full schedule for today for you. I wanted to do that, and I don't even think I have enough copies of this. But anyway, this is kind of an outline of services. My primary concern is to have you okay the parade route. You know, with the street construction, we of course cannot go down Main Street this year. So we would pretty much just like to turn around the parade and go down T with your blessing and then end up going up Merced. This does lengthen the parade route just a tad bit, but not a real major concern of ours. Just a couple of things that I didn't really make anybody aware of, but you will see on this request for city services. This is pretty much the list of items that I go over with Cleve and Mike and Ernie, and we have not done that as of yet, but I just wanted to apprise you of, I know that Cleve ends up giving you a copy of this in the end anyway. Pretty much the services are exactly the same as what we have been doing in the past. The only couple changes and additions one would be that the horse judging is normally done down T Street, the pre-judging of the horses. That would have to be done somewhere on Main Street this time, so it just reverses. So I'm assuming it would be somewhere down Main Street, probably, you know, from, I don't know. I haven't even talked to Julie about it, but probably I would say from in front of like City Hall, you know, down to St. Joachim's, or possibly on Main to Yolo. So, you know, from, I don't know, whatever, Mariposa, I guess, to Yolo. Somewhere in that vicinity.
Will that be a problem on Sunday with church going in front of
all
for
of
the
those-
horse judging?
Well, all of those streets
and
are
I don't know,
normally,
just-
all the
yeah.
streets are normally kind of congested and closed anyway, and
Yeah.
we really don't have, you know, any other street unless we go, and this is also a possibility, that's why I just wanted to throw out Main Street just in case we have to do it, is possibly going down further on, you know, like S before we actually get to the park, or, you know, one of those streets. But it would have to be away from the regular parade lineup, so there's not that confusion with the horses
How much
and
room
so
do
forth.
you need?
They usually do the prejudging within a block. I mean, the horse trailers park around, you know, usually over by the library field, and then they'll take the horses down to T Street. So we may still want to opt to do it maybe on Q, or, you know, something in that vicinity, just that with the carnival and all the other functions going on that may not work.
Or perhaps you could use that block to the south of the church, or the north of the church.
Yes.
Between Yolo
Yeah.
and Mariposa.
Yeah, and we could also, the other thing that just popped into my mind is we could maybe even use the high school parking lot for prejudging. I mean, you know, so I might talk to Roberto about doing that. It's just, we'll talk about that tomorrow night, but I just wanted you to be aware that we may have that, you know, that little bit of a change. And then the other thing is that at our last meeting, we talked about trying to distinguish T Street as the parade route in some way. Somehow we normally have all of our flags down Main Street along the parade route, and so we would like to possibly put ribbons up on a few of the main trees down T Street, and then they were also talking about on some of the street signs using the flags, the cornucopia flags that we have now, to just kind of do some decorating, you know, down T Street. So that's a possibility. And then I think that Mayor Reed has talked with Ernie about having the street sweeper come and do the
the pooper scooper services for us since we're now going down residential area and we won't have that. So that's a possibility. And then Joe Gomes would like to use the city parking lot for his old engine and historic dairy machines as kind of like just a display on, he would do that on Sunday. And then the other thing was to possibly have the barbecue kitchen facilities open for so we could have water heater services to be able to clean the barbecue pit tables on the weekend, if that's possible, and I haven't talked to Ernie about that yet either. And then we would also like to have 2 young buck-looking officers to escort the Miss Newman girls for the pageant on Saturday night. And I don't know that I said...
Do we have any, Mike?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
That's right, we don't have a workout.
I know.
we didn't approve that last meeting.
Anyway, for the most part, the Fall Festival is coming together. The schedule events, I don't have that for you today, but really pretty much we have been very fortunate that everyone is coming forward, and we are still having the same types of things like the salsa and the fireman's muster and the kids' games and obviously Miss Newman and the wine and cheese, and so it will pretty much happen its entirety for the weekend.
The parade must go on.
The parade must go on. That's exactly right. And I think I mentioned this to Cleve, but there's a possibility that Walter Simon Newman might be joining us with his wife Ellen for the weekend, and Walter Jr. will also be joining us. So anyway, that might be kind of a fun thing for us. So there is that possibility, and I told them to bring their hiking boots if they do. They'll still need to do that. And the only new event that we will be offering this year is a hockey tournament, and that will be held on Saturday morning, pretty much at the same time as the 3-on-3 basketball tournament.
That's a street hockey.
Street hockey.
Not ice hockey.
Not ice hockey. It will be street hockey. Street hockey. Yeah, so you can play. There's a division for adults. Just bring your helmet and your pads, and you'll be ready to rock and roll. So that's pretty much all I have. The most important thing, of course, would be tonight would be for you to okay the parade route. And I just wanted to inform you of the other items. So if you have any other questions, I can answer those for you now.
Chief Brady, do you have any questions on the parade route?
No.
He wrote this.
Okay.
I
Well,
move-
I know you wrote that, but I just thought you had a
I move
question.
that we approve the Fall Festival 2001 parade route.
Second, anybody?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. You now have a parade route. All right, let's see. Item number 10, adjourn to meet as Newman Redevelopment Agency. Could we have a roll call, please?
Present.
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 Present. This is, we have one item, item 10B, which is to approve resolution number 2001, next number. A resolution of the redevelopment agency, City of Newman, approving and authorizing execution of a disposition and development agreement between the City of Newman and Bigelow Chevrolet Buick. It's the same thing we did
Right.
on, as a council.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
But we have to be consistent with the other motion. So moved with the stipulation that the $10,000 down payment be dropped, and that in the event that Caltrans funds part of it, Bigelow would, Chevrolet would pay the rest. Otherwise, Bigelow Chevrolet would pay the whole amount.
On the sidewalk.
On the sidewalk, yes.
Yeah, on the sidewalk.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. It will adjourn back to the regular session, and item number 11, items from city manager.
Just quickly, a few things to bring you up to date. I will start this Friday with my emails to you. I do have all your email addresses now, and we'll start that, and you're welcome to return any questions by email. I check mine regularly, so if you have any questions or want a report on anything, be sure and let me know, or just come in and ask me, and I may email back to you. Kind of report on some of our projects we're in the middle of right now. Inyo Avenue, Ernie, maybe help me out on this one. I believe they have began to pour concrete curbs out there, and so progress is being made there. Tom and I have been working on the sign information. We are hoping for a response by tomorrow, I believe is the date.
Let's say if we don't get the response, and any one of my colleagues here, including the mayor, if you want to comment, move the sign. It's on the city property for the Inyo project. I know that we're looking at it from a contingency basis. We're getting a response from this ad agency. So what are the conclusions for us to just go ahead and move it and finish our project?
If we can't come to a agreement with them, we have to do an eminent domain action.
Yeah.
And so we all have to have action by this council on the eminent domain.
Yes.
So if necessary, we may call a special meeting to get that moving immediately. But Tom, help me out. I was talking to Bill Henry the other day, and I probably should have discussed this with you before the meeting. But he said in the past, there was a provision where you could actually have that removed, something like that, when it was in the way of a project and a safety issue. He says there was a provision where you can actually get a court order to have it moved within like 10 days and then go back in and do the eminent domain proceeding.
Long as we provide the probable reasonable compensation to them, that's always possible.
Okay.
It's like getting a writ of immediate possession when we need land.
Okay. Okay. So we will work on that. What the plan is that if we do not receive a response, I believe Tom already has ready to go a complaint, which would basically begin that proceeding for the eminent domain proceedings. So if we do not receive a response, I'm saying probably by Thursday morning, then we'll look at filing that complaint. Is that correct, Tom? Or
A few other wrinkles we'll talk about
okay.
tomorrow, but hopefully we can get some agreement.
Right.
And actually, I received a call from their attorney this afternoon.
Okay.
I didn't return. I need to talk with Cleve about that too. So hopefully we can do it the easy
We
way
may be
and
close.
not
Yeah.
the hard way.
Yeah, because I just didn't see I think there was some comment that you had made about a two-part type of completion to that project, and I didn't see that this should be something that holds us up.
The main thing that is holding us up still on that, though, are the PG&E poles.
And I saw those.
And I have received notification that those are to be removed beginning, I'm hoping August 1st. One person told me the first part of August, the other person told me August 1st.
But you're getting a response for
Yes.
compliance with that.
Yes.
But we haven't been for this sign,
Right.
so.
Okay. So anyway, we will keep on top of that. Tom and I are working on it. We'll keep it going.
We'll be working on that tomorrow.
Yeah. Streetscape, just for your information, the contractor has informed me they are about a week behind, but they are fairly confident that most of that will be able to be made up in phase 2 due to the fact that they'll know the problems that they're going to run into, they'll know what to expect, and they're hoping that they're fairly confident that they'll be able to make up that time. But it will probably mean that this phase, the first phase, will be an extra week getting completed. If you happen to notice, we have started pouring concrete. There's some concrete being poured out on this corner, and that will continue throughout the remainder of this week and be continuing next week. Most of the problems that we had run into have been worked out now, and you'll see quite a bit of that going on over the next week. Last Thursday, I believe it was, I went to a meeting involving the West Side Classic, which is the band review we've had in the past. Last year they did not hold it. They would like to get it going again. They have it currently scheduled for October 27th, I believe is the date. And they would like to hold it down Main Street. That is their plan. Now, we hope that we are done with Main Street at that time. We're scheduled to be done with, except for phase 4, which is coming back in and doing the benches, the light standards, the clamshells on the bottom of the lights, some of those things. The street should be completed at that point and should not be a problem. They do have a contingency plan if necessary, but they would like to move forward with that, and I've told them that I gave them that warning that they may have to go to option B, but that they can do it. And we talked about, there's been some discussion that by placing the bulb outs that we've done restricts them too much and they wouldn't be able to do it. But the new band director checked with the judges committee that judges these, and they said they need a minimum of 22 feet. In talking to our contractor, he says we have around 25 to 27 feet in our intersections, and so it frees up that space for them to do that. Their plan is to actually place their judging booth across from the theater in the parking lot, and so the main block between Tulare and Fresno would be the judging area for the West Side Classic, which I think provides a good venue, a good place for that if they can pull it off and make it work. Any questions on that, or that's ongoing? There's some information I'm going to get back to them, but they are pushing towards doing that this year. The final thing is on the skate park. This Saturday, the other half of our concrete slab will be poured. The first half was poured and it went well. The skate park equipment is supposed to be shipped and should arrive here the week of August 6th. I'm looking at either August 11th or August 18th to get some volunteers together to actually install the equipment. That'll be on a Saturday. I'm scheduled to be out of town on the 11th, so that's why I'm looking at possibly moving it to the 18th so that I would be back for that. And should be up and running. I'm hoping that at your next meeting I will have an ordinance ready to go to the council and to the Recreation Commission that will talk about the rules of the skate park and things of that for you to review also. And I think that's all I had, unless there's any questions on any of these or other items.
Did you hear from the people with the hard hats today?
No, I did not.
Okay. Any other questions for Cleve?
Just one, Cleve. I know we probably don't have the funds at this time, but the one thing that has been really a sore spot are the alleys.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wondered if probably now is not a good time to do the alleys, but at some point that's going to have to be done. So
Right.
I just wonder.
Well, there's a couple of things, as we looked at, when we went into the streetscape, there's there's actually 3 other projects that are on our list that we would like to do in the future. One is an alley project, which would not only improve the alleys as far as make them more drivable and get drainage through them properly, but also to create small alley parking lots in the back there in some of the open spaces, improve those so that especially business owners, but also possibly in some areas there's enough room for even patrons to park back there in those alleyways. So there's the alleyway project. Another one is the plaza project. And then the third one is the extension of Main Street. So there's those 3 projects that still I think are important ones that we really want to get done, that we'll be trying to secure funding for and move forward with. As far as priorities, there's I think, they're all important, and we're going to have to decide. We're not going to be able to do all of them at once. We have to decide what of those we would like to proceed with first and try to secure the funding for.
Thank you.
Item 12, items from city council members. John?
I just had one question that Bob reminded me about the alleys. If there's any of that old asphalt left, can we at least fill the holes in the alleys before the winter? Will that work?
Will that work for that, Ernie?
We've used it before.
Okay.
If there's any left from that pile,
You
be a good
know what's
idea.
happened is the alleys are being used extensively now for heavy trucks, and they've damaged the alleys considerably. I don't know if you've noticed west of the Main Street, that alley is taking a lot of heavy traffic, and it has not helped the situation.
We'll take a look at that, and then also definitely once the project's done, look at what we need to do to and get it, in a better condition. So, because even, especially with the new streetscape, we're going to be pushing even more for deliveries and truck traffic to go to the alleys rather than down Main Street, so.
That's all I had.
Just to tell everyone they should probably follow the yellow brick road to the theater because there's an excellent play going on right now, and
Tickets are going fast.
tickets are going fast, and it's for the whole family, and it's a good time for all that do attend. That's the only comment I have.
Tom?
Nothing.
Yeah. He just kind of shocked me.
You sure?
He just kind of shocked me there when he said that.
I'd spoken to the mayor about this, and I wanted to bring it to staff's attention and my colleagues. I'm going to be out of town on a professional meeting on August the 14th that week. And my suggestion was, I don't know how much of an agenda we'll have for that particular meeting, whether or not we may be able to have a special meeting on the 7th or the 21st. Cleve, you just mentioned you're going to be out of town, I guess, on the 11th. And I know that there were some items we just
It would be that whole
discussed.
week of the 7th, actually.
It would be the whole week. What about looking at the possibilities of foregoing a meeting on the 14th and pushing it to the 21st, combining those agenda items? I know sometimes we meet and our agendas are very brief. We've been a little longer tonight.
I guess what I would recommend is if you want to do that, probably look at only holding one meeting, because if you hold it on the 21st, we'd turn around, the regular one would be scheduled for the 28th, and it's hard for us to do that quick of a turnaround to
Okay.
get a new agenda done immediately after
Can we
completing
see if
one.
maybe if that's applicable then, particularly
That's
since
up
like
to the council.
that last minute agenda item?
I think it depends on the importance of things coming. If there's something important coming up that should be done, I think we should go ahead and have it. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
if there's nothing really important on the agenda, why?
Pardon, Margaret? Oh, there is a public hearing on the 14th. There's a public hearing already published for the
For the
14th.
14th? Okay.
But
Yeah, I just suggest that. I know that the mayor mentioned also, I think it's a date in September
Yeah.
that you may be out.
Yeah, I'll be gone in September. Anything else?
No, that was it.
Okay. The only thing I have is, I just wanted to congratulate Doug Matoza for receiving the Silvero Award at the Chamber dinner dance the other night, and I don't think anybody deserves it more than him. And it was a very nice turnout. All 5 council members showed up. Our city manager was there. Our police chief was there. Our finance director was there, and our city clerk over there was there. I can't, if I missed anybody, I'm sorry, but I think every.
We know the police chief was there because he won 3 prizes.
That's right, I forgot.
5
4 of them.
prizes.
Okay,
5
okay.
prizes. 4?
All right, item number 13. Anyone want to make a motion for adjournment? You're on.
I did it the last time and they gave him credit.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned.
Why did you make that necessary correction in the minutes when we came up to take care of it?
I didn't want to be last.